Hello and welcome back to How to Start a Game Company. This is Ross Shabilsky, founder of D20 Studios.
And I am Logan Erickson with the Geek Wave.
Following up on our networking series today, we're going to be talking about how do you network as an indie developer at game conferences.
So Ross, you definitely have some experience in this. You are an indie developer.
Yes.
How do you like to network?
So one of my first experiences out there networking as an indie was at the Flash Game Summit. I can't recall the exact year at this point. I'll have to think about that and put in the comments. But it was a eye-opening experience because you're out there with all this talent pool of people that make awesome games. You've got artists, you've got engineers, you've got producers, and the first thing you want to think to yourself is, how do I maximize my opportunity here? So one of the ways that you do that, and this was kind of an interesting learning experience, was to make it about the person you're talking to, not about yourself.
I like it.
And I say that because people are naturally inclined to want to talk about themselves and exhibit and feel important and interesting. And when you take and approach people and say, here's this awesome game I'm working on, look at it, and kind of put it in their face, I think of that Family Guy where he's taking the wallet with the kids and just like smacking it in there. You want to really, take a minute to step back and say, hey, hi, my name is Ross. I'm an indie game developer, and you are, and get to know them, and then say, yeah, tell me a little bit about what you do in the industry. And then from that experience of kind of really opening yourself up and listening, you want to be thinking to yourself, okay, where's the win-win opportunity here, right? Because what's going to make a really lasting and memorable connection is where you can see the awesome talent in this person you're talking to and how that can fit into something that would complement with your talent. And then we can make that connection. You can find something that says, hey, I noticed that you're a really talented audio person. Well, I have a need in my game for some great sound effects. What's your availability look like? Are you open to doing some contract work together? Or can we potentially talk about doing X, Y, Z in the future? Or is there portfolio samples that I could follow up with you later to review? And always kind of do that follow-up too. You don't want to ever necessarily put anyone on the spot for something in the immediate moment because they're all off meeting people as well and there's a lot of traffic. But you want to say something memorable like that and then say, this has been a great conversation. Can I follow up with you next week after the conference to kind of pick your brain some more about these ideas?
Yeah, I think definitely when you're networking at conferences, it's about making that first contact. Yes. And then you want to continue it. Make the first contact and then continue that conversation down the road. I know you have spoken at conferences, correct? At PAX.
Yes.
How do you go about something like that? How do you utilize that to your advantage?
How do you utilize? Okay, so the first key, I say, how do you get into the speaking is the first challenge, right? Yep. If you want to get involved in speaking at these events, which is a great way to get exposed and kind of share knowledge, you need to find ways to volunteer your talent out there. One of the ways I did that, kind of my first experience going about, was talking to the folks at Adobe. They were, at the time, doing their cross-platform development on Air and kind of moving into the mobile space. But at the time, it was fairly new. There weren't a lot of developers working on it. And a lot of people were struggling with getting the performance up. They're saying things like, hey, Flash, I can convert my game, but it's running at 12 FPS. This is not playable. What do I do? And I'd say, hey, I've approached some of these things. Here's what I'm doing. I kind of show an example and say, here's my game. It's running at 30 or 40 FPS when the others are running at 12. And here's some of the techniques I did. And they would say, this is really interesting. We would love to have you do an article for us. Would you ever consider writing for the developer community? And from that point on, made contacts and started doing some technical writing, get those articles out there, and then that sort of gets you the exposure connection to being able to do more speaking events. Kind of one of the first mistakes that a lot of people make, including myself, is that you feel the work you're doing is somehow sacred, and that it's guarded. Like you don't want to tell the people what you're doing because there's something special in my IP or my brand or my technology. I'm doing things in a way that no one else has ever done before. Bad approach, especially as an indie. You want to be thinking to yourself, how can I give this gift to the world, or how can I share, or how can I help other people who are struggling with the same things I'm struggling with? Because when it comes down to it, the problems that we have as developers, whether it's trying to bump up your performance, render these graphics, make your AI work, every indie developer, every developer out there is facing these same problems. As you start to do these little small acts of kindness and altruism and getting your stuff out there to help other people, it starts to create this persona of you as a industry expert, a subject matter expert. And that's what helps build up the cred to your favor to get more communication out there, to share more, And then once you get to the level of speaker, then you've got this great opportunity to really just get out there, and you've got a whole hour where you're on the spotlight, right? So you can meet all kinds of people. They're asking questions, and the growth and success and the awesome things that can happen out of that just sort of unfold once you're at that part.
So what I'm hearing is that big cooperation, not trying to push people out or make them your enemy, pull them in, make them your friends, work together. And I think that's just a great philosophy on life, honestly, because then you just make friends and aren't like making enemies of people. Otherwise, any final thoughts, any last tips?
No.
Just have passion, you guys.
Have passion.
Go out there and make games and love doing it.
This has been Ross Bilski. It's another wonderful day in Utah.
Yeah.